So we have sensation, anatomy, and physiology of superficial and deep sensibility. So first, what is sensation? So sensation is basically proprioception of stimuli from external and internal environment, and it is carried out by receptors and sensory pathways. So, first we have superficial and deep. Let's talk about the superficial sensibility. It's also called as exteroceptive. So superficial, like it says, we have like the skin and the mucous membranes. Okay, so what does it function as? So, it helps in like touch, such as like fine or crude touch, pain, and temperature. And it is mediated by spinothalamic tract pathway. Next, we have deep sensibility, which is also proprioceptive. So it comes from the tendons, the muscle, and the joints. So its function is to detect the pressure, the vibration, the movement, and position. And it is carried out by DCML pathway or dorsal column medial lemniscus. So let's talk about the receptors. So we have proprioceptors, thermoreceptors, mechanoreceptors, and nociceptors. We've got other receptors as well, but let's talk about these main ones. So proprioceptors, they detect the position and the movement. Thermoreceptors, they detect the temperature. Mechanoreceptors, they detect the touch and the pressure. Nociceptors, they detect the pain. Also, we have like different kinds of pain. So we have like slow pain or like slow pain or the fast pain. So basically, what is fast pain? This one, it is like sharp and it is localized and it is by A gamma fibers, whereas slow pain, it is dull, as it says. It is not localized and it has C fibers. Yes. Next, let's talk about the superficial sensibility. So superficial sensibility, it is mediated by spinothalamic tract. And if there's any defect or like damage to the spinothalamic tract, it can cause contralateral effect. As in, if there's a lesion on like the left side of the spinothalamic tract, it can cause effect on the right side. Right. So it's contralateral. So it has like three neurons. We have first order neurons, second order neurons, and the third order neurons. So first order neurons, it goes from the receptor to the dorsal root ganglion, and the information goes to the spinal cord. In the second order neurons, they synapse in the dorsal horn and they cross almost immediately in the spinal cord and they enter the spinothalamic tract. In the third, they go to the thalamus and then they go to the postcentral gyrus, which is the sensory cortex. So third order neurons is same in the spinothalamic tract and the DCML pathway in superficial sensibility and deep sensibility. Third order neurons, it goes from the thalamus to the postcentral gyrus. Next, we have the DCML pathway. As we said, it's like inside, as in like the joints, the tendons, the muscles. So we have like different kinds of receptors. So we have muscle spindles, we have joint receptors, Golgi tendon organ, and Pacinian corpuscles. Muscle, which is basically muscle stretch. Joint, we have position of the joint. Golgi tendon organ is for tendon tension, and Pacinian corpuscles is for vibration. Let's talk about the pathway. So basically, what happens is that it ascends spilaterally on both the sides, okay, from the posterior columns. So both the sides, as in from the fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus. So fasciculus gracilis is from the lower limb and fasciculus cuneatus is from the upper limb. Right. So this is the first order neurons. And next we have the second order. So they basically synapse in the medulla and they cross as internal arcuate fibers and they form the medial lemniscus. This is important because in the spinothalamic tract, right, they cross in the spinal cord. Right. Over here, they cross in the spinal cord and the synapse there. Whereas in the DCMO, the synapse in the medulla, in the brainstem. That's the main difference. And they form medial lemniscus. And then the third order is the same, thalamus to the postcentral gyrus or the sensory cortex. Right, that's about it mostly. And next we have spinocerebellar pathway, which basically carries unconscious proprioception to the cerebellum. Right, so what does it function as? So it helps in posture, coordination, and muscle tone. And it affects if the spinal cerebellar pathway, if the spinocerebellar pathway is affected, it can cause gait, it can cause cerebellar ataxia, and it can cause incoordination. So ataxia is basically loss of muscle tone, and like you cannot like have like a proper posture. It's basically like posture imbalance and stuff. So that's like ataxia. And we have a sensory dissociation, which is basically loss of one sensory modality whereas the other one is preserved. Example is syringomyelia. So what happens in this is like if one side is affected and the other side is preserved. For say the spinothalamic tract is affected, the DCML is preserved, as in there is loss of the pain and temperature, but there's preserved modality of the pressure or vibration. So yeah, that's about it.